G'day there folks, it's Connie here again from Marky Industries and we are back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty folks, we're starting on relationships. This one was written by a throwaway account and it's titled, "My boyfriend is unhappy that I'm trying to lose weight." I've been dating my boyfriend Blake for almost 6 years. We've been happy together. We moved in last spring when I graduated. I have a steady job and we just adopted a cat. I've been happy in every aspect of my life except one, my health. I've been chubby all my life, but during my 6-year relationship, I've gained almost 40 pounds. I'm not that tall either, so I don't carry the weight well at all, especially since I certainly wasn't skinny before. Blake has always loved me and my body, regardless of cellulite or bigger waistbands. He's of average weight, and I'm so grateful that my weight gain hasn't been a deal breaker for him. He always says I'm absolutely beautiful no matter what, and he's great at showing it. Our sex life is wonderful. We have sex or bring each other to orgasm nearly daily, which is awesome because I have a high sex drive, and apparently he does too. So despite Blake being very genuine about loving me no matter what, I'm uncomfortable with my weight. I work in healthcare, and while it hasn't been an issue, I'm afraid it may start negatively affecting my professional life. So a few weeks ago, I told Blake, I need to get a handle on my weight. No more junk food, no more fast food, and I'm going to the gym. I've done really well sticking to it so far. I only slip up on Coca-Cola because I have an addiction to the caffeine and hate Diet Coke, but I only drink 1 can a day and work it into my overall calories, so it's working okay. Blake was a little resistant to the changes. I'm the one that usually cooks, and I'm big on casseroles and making desserts. And pizza. I've been working really hard on making low-fat foods. Blake eats like a truck and isn't a huge fan of my new low-fat foods. I usually make grilled chicken and rice or salad, so I'll make some sort of sauce for him to eat the chicken with while I eat it plain. I've also told him that I can make desserts for him, but I'd like not to because I know I'd eat them. This was nothing more than some grumbling that I sympathized to and tried to help with. Then I started getting up early to use the gym. Our apartment has a gym that's literally 100 feet from our door. I get up at 6 now, use the gym for an hour, then shower and go about my normal routine. I used to wake up at 7, so not too much has changed. Blake has complained heavily about how I'm waking him up too early. He works from home and usually sleeps in until after 8. Just enough time to kiss me before I leave to work. He says he can't get back to bed after I slip out at 6. I understood, so I started going at 8 at night, coming home at 9, showering, and getting ready for bed. Then Blake complained that it cut into our us time. I told him that I would be going to the gym and it's up to him if I should go in the morning or evening, as either works fine for me. He finally agreed that nights were better. I know it's early and probably water weight, but my scrub's waistband is already a little looser. I have to tie it to stay up, where before it didn't need to be tied. I showed Blake and he was not enthusiastic, just kinda like, oh cool, I guess. He's usually not so passive-aggressive, so I asked what was up. He straight up said, I don't want you to lose weight. I was baffled and a little upset. I was already working hard and I was happy with the changes I wanted to make. I asked him point blank, why don't you want me to lose weight? He was kinda huffy and beating around the bush. He said that too much was changing. He loved me how I was, and he didn't think it was necessary. I told him if you love me no matter what, then loving me while I lose weight and get healthier shouldn't be a problem. He reiterated over and over that too much was changing, and he thought all this effort was unnecessary. I asked him if there was anything I could do to make the changes easier for both of us. He just said, stop dieting and going to the gym. I told him I wasn't going to do that, and he wouldn't talk with me anymore. The frick? I really am at a loss. I also don't have any intention of stopping my health journey. Is this really all about the schedule and food changes? I could make 2 meals, but Blake won't tell me what would make these changes easier. I don't know what to do about the gym. I really want to go. Yeah, it's definitely weird that he's getting all up in arms about this. Wouldn't you be happy that your partner's getting healthier and fitter? The only explanation I can think of is that her looking more conventionally attractive is making him more insecure, but I have no idea. Let's go to the comments. He is afraid of all the change in you and how that's affecting the relationship now. Also, you kinda spoiled him making meals, and now he has to adjust to eating and thinking healthier, which he supported at first, but now he has second thoughts because it's affecting his lifestyle. Now you're receiving pushback instead of support. Negotiating is important as well as support in any relationship, including marriage. Some may disagree, but he is essentially having a tantrum over all of these changes. He may get over it and adapt, or he may not. I would encourage you to continue a healthy course and lifestyle. Opie replies, I don't mind cooking and I don't mind spoiling my boyfriend, honestly. I was afraid it was too mean of me to just up and change everything about my cooking while he basically gets no say in it. I won't stop trying to be healthier, but it's going to be really hard if he doesn't like it. I can sit down and talk to him again about how important it is. I have a short day tomorrow, so there should be plenty of time. It's been suggested already that he might suspect you're cheating on him, but I'd like to suggest something similar yet different. He may think that if you get fitter and thus hotter, you may end up attracting someone else down the line and leaving him for that hypothetical person. We have no way of knowing what Blake's self-esteem is like, or where he falls on the conventionally attractive spectrum, but if he's insecure, he could feel threatened by the idea that you might grow to be out of his league. If this is the case, then it's certainly worth it to reassure him of your attraction and commitment to him. Hopefully you two can talk about it in more depth. Or, it's the fetish thing, could go either way. Your boyfriend is capable of feeding himself. Don't keep spoiling him all the time. He's insecure you're going to become hotter and get more attention from better looking guys and want to leave him. He doesn't want you to improve your health because he's immature and insecure. Yeah, that was my first initial thought too. But let's see. On to an update. So, wow, this was actually kind of dramatic. My life is not usually this drastic. So I got home from work early the day after I posted my original post. I told my boyfriend ahead of time that I wanted to talk, and he said that he would work hard in the morning so he could finish his work early. I felt really nervous talking to him. Blake is basically average in anything, objectively, but of course I think he's excellent, but he's very confident. His confidence has always seemed very genuine, so I really didn't think it was insecurity. A lot of people suggested that. Insecurity about himself, his body, his laziness, which he really isn't. Concern that I may be cheating or more tempted to cheat, etc. It didn't seem right. We have a very solid relationship. Neither of us have even been slightly unfaithful. We're usually not one-on-one with opposite sex, and we don't talk to older exes, never been on dating sites, never even been interested in threesomes or group sex. We're very strictly monogamous, and I've been clear on my stance. Blake is not the jealous type, never has been, and I'm not the type to wander whatsoever. I still went in with an open mind because I know that jealousy isn't always reasonable. Anyway, we sat down and I said roughly, Blake, I love you, and because I love you, I want to stick around for a long time with you. I've developed some unhealthy habits over our relationship that I'd like to correct. I'm going to continue to go to the gym and cook healthy. I'd love it if you were a part of that, but if you're not interested, I'd still love your support. He seemed pretty embarrassed the whole time I was talking, just kinda awkward. He apologized for being unsupported and said that he really loves me and if getting healthy was my goal, he supported it. So I asked why he was so against it initially, and well, he's a fat fetishist, or a chubby chaser, or whatever. He liked big women. He told me that my figure at this moment, which is 5'6", about 210 pounds, very busty and hippie, was his absolute dream figure for women. He apologized and said he acted very childishly because he was embarrassed to admit it. He told a few friends a long time ago, and I guess one spread word around, and he got teased. Plus, it's probably not completely okay in this current society to like big women, but I digress. I know a few people called it. I didn't write them off completely, but I just didn't really think it was the case. It's really weird. So I asked him some questions. These are all paraphrased, FYI, my memory isn't that good. I said, so is it like the bigger the better? Him, no, not really. Like from 200 to 250 pounds is my favourite. Average height or tall. I probably wouldn't date anyone over 300 pounds. Did you love my figure when I was thinner? Of course. But do you love it more now? Honestly, yes, it's my preference, but you still had an amazing figure when we first dated. Are you going to be angry or upset if I continue to lose weight? Not really. I still feel bad enough for being such an a-hole about it. What if I get skinnier than 170-ish pounds? I'll deal with it. It's a me thing. You're still going to be really hot, and I love way more about you than your weight. So I got answers and I felt a little better, initially. We hugged it out and cuddled on the couch with Netflix. He tried to initiate sex, but I just couldn't. It's hard to explain. It's just weird when you realize your boyfriend only dated you because of a physical aspect, you know? He only wanted me because I was chubby when we met. I felt really objectified, honestly. Maybe that's too strong a reaction for a pretty mild fetish, preference or whatever, but I still felt weird. Blake could tell I wasn't into making out with him and asked if I was okay. I tried to explain what I was feeling, but it's hard to. I'm much better at writing than I am talking, and I feel like I barely made sense in the above paragraph. Blake was a little upset, not at me, just that this problem was arising. He asked me what he could do, and I said I wasn't sure. I probably just needed time before I could be intimate. This was a big thing to hide, you know. I wish he'd told me sooner. I don't know. Probably before we had sex the first time I'd want to know. I don't know if I would have stayed or left, but this feels so weird now. Like it's a part of him that didn't exist before, and now it's all I could think about. So now I have these concerns. I do want to keep losing weight. I want to be healthy. But what if Blake can't handle me being thinner? What if he leaves for a woman that fulfills his sexual desires? Will he be unhappy with me losing weight? Will he try to sabotage me? I brought all of these up to him and very genuinely assured me that it would never happen. Weight is a preference and he prefers me more than anything. I believe him, but I feel like my mind is tainted. Will this just get better with time? I'm not sure how to proceed. I still love him, of course, and want to marry him and be with him. I just feel like there's a block now. And before anyone suggests it, he did not get me fat on purpose. I was already chubby, already had bad eating habits. The last 4 years I've been living in dorms on my own with Blake, etc., and had the freedom to make crappy choices, which I did. I very likely would have gained the weight regardless of my dating status. Is this something I can get over? Is this something I should get over? I feel like Blake's doing everything he can to assure me he loves me regardless of any physical aspect, but I'm still feeling a little resentful that for all of these years he hid something from me that's about me, you know? Edit. So basically everyone is saying that I just need to get over it. I'm not saying that I won't, but it gets old going through a ton of messages saying the same thing. It mostly feels like people are kind of dismissing a few things that I've expressed concern with. It's awesome that Blake genuinely loves me regardless of any personal preference. I'm not taking that for granted, but it's still something I feel like he's kept from me that he shouldn't have. I have kinks and fetishes that I've been shamed about before, and I still told him. Also, a lot of people are focusing on me being a little concerned that he started dating me because he was attracted to me being overweight. I get that physical attraction and types are important. I was receptive to Blake when he approached because I found him attractive, but what kept me continuing to talk to him was his smile, his laugh, his humour, etc. I don't know. I hate that it feels like everyone is saying you're overreacting, don't feel this way. It's been 2 days and it's at least very weird for me to find out so long into our relationship. Like I said, there's no saying I won't get over it. I just need some time. Yeah, plenty for Opie to ponder over here. Let's read some final comments. I get OP, there's nothing wrong with preferences, but at the same time you feel a bit icky. A guy you're seeing being weird because you're going to the gym carries the same feeling as a guy you're seeing being weird because you aren't going to the gym. There is a weird feeling of why does he feel like he gets to tell me what I should be doing instead of supporting my choices? Not that he shouldn't get a say, if she were to ask for example, or if he had a concern, like that one guy in that one post, but an unsolicited attempt to get her to change her mind on something she decided to do for her own well-being. I hope Opie didn't end up like another woman in a previous post I read here. The Opie there was the son. His mum was trying to lose weight and got into a relationship with a suspected feeder that slowly sabotaged her weight loss efforts, convincing her that it was okay to miss gym a few times until she stopped going, ignoring her diet until she was eating more unhealthily than before, etc. And the more Opie tried to convince his mum that the man was no good for her, the more she dug her heels in because he was the first long-term partner she'd had in a long time. The last time that Opie saw to his mum, she said she was going to marry the boyfriend and move to his hometown, and she didn't care if Opie approved or not. Where did he say that he only started dating her because of her weight? He didn't. That's why I agree she's overreacting. He even said he likes her current figure more than the one she had when they met. She says what kept me was his smile, his humour, but she's not giving him a chance to say something similar. Yeah, interesting sentiment there. What do you guys think? Do you think Opie's overreacting or not? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, that's it from that story, and we're going to move on to another one. Alrighty, jumping on over to Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Majestic Designer, and it's titled, Would I be the a-hole for not forgiving my husband for cheating on me with his ex-wife? I'm honestly a mess, and I don't know what to do, so any advice would be appreciated. I, 27 male, and my husband, 37 male, have been married for 3 years, dating for 6. He has an ex-wife, 37, which he divorced a year before we met. We have a son, 7, who was adopted after we got married, and who I love as my own child, because he is. I know my husband Peter is bisexual. I have no problem with it, and I had no problem with his ex-wife Alison. I did have a problem with his family, as they're a bit homophobic and are always telling Peter he should get back together with Alison. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were at his family's town because it was my son, Jack's, birthday, and we wanted to spend it as a family. My mother-in-law decided it would be a good idea to invite Alison, so she arrived in the middle of the party. I didn't want to ruin Jack's birthday, so I stayed quiet. I spent all my time with Jack, playing with him and his cousins at his request. When it was time to cut the cake, I noticed Alison and Peter weren't there, so I went inside and looked for them around the house. I found them in Peter's old bedroom, taking their clothes off. I stood there in shock for a moment, but then I left and went back to celebrating Jack's birthday. Part of me wanted to scream and cry, but I was also in shock, and I refused to make Jack's birthday about me. We cut the cake and opened the presents. People were already leaving when Alison and Peter came back. Peter took me aside and started saying that I shouldn't have cut the cake without him present, and it was disrespectful. I stared at him and just said, "I'm sorry, I just thought you'd be too busy getting into your ex-wife's pants." He got quiet, so I took Jack and left the house to go back to the hotel. Once I put Jack in bed and made sure he was asleep, I locked myself in the bathroom and broke down. I called a friend and he tried his best to console me. I only calmed down in the morning when I took Jack for breakfast because I didn't want him to see me like that. I'm now watching him play in the park, and I don't want him to suffer. I don't want him to have a broken family. I don't want him to know that relationships aren't a happy ever after. Peter has been calling and texting, apologizing for everything, and I'm tempted to forgive him. I'm tempted to just have my family back, and all my friends are saying that it was just a mistake, that he was vulnerable, and Alison is his ex-wife. So what am I supposed to do now? I need the advice from people who don't know my husband or me personally. Please, any advice is helpful. Oh man, this is really tricky. But for some reason I do get the impression that either this has happened before or it's just going to continue happening in the future if you stay with this guy. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole, but you should leave. I know it won't be easy, but if you stay, think of it as showing Jack that it's okay for your husband or wife to treat you badly. If you want him to know about happily ever after, you need to show him that it's okay to not settle, and you work hard for your goals no matter what they are, and work towards them with kindness, honesty, and integrity. Kids are far more impressionable than we give credit for, and as someone who has known so many families where the person being hurt hasn't walked away, that hurt spreads until it damages everyone. Relating to just yourself here, there is a huge safety factor. Regardless of the sex of each individual involved, staying with the cheater also puts you in danger because you don't know everyone they're sleeping with, and more importantly, what STIs they can be carrying. So think about your son and your health and leave. Emotionally, if you're surrounded by people telling you to forgive and forget, those people are not safe to be around, as you have no clue if they've been hiding this from you for a while either. It would be one thing to forgive him for cheating, but he cheated with his ex-wife, who his homophobic family is going to cram down his throat for the rest of his life, and who he has demonstrated he has absolutely no ability to set a boundary on that and not do it. Your son is going to do best seeing both his parents pursue their own happiness as well as his. Taking people back and staying in crappy relationships just because changes are hard on kids is just going to be kicking the can down the road, and if anything, teaching him to accept unacceptable treatment, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, I know separation will be hard on him, but children are resilient. I don't think you should take him back just for a dream that your significant other isn't participating in correctly. Opie answers some more comments. Someone says, teach your son that his future partners has to respect him and their relationship by not being a cheating idiot. Opie says, I do want to teach him this stuff, but he's too young, and I'm just scared that he'll get a bad view of relationships if he sees his parents divorce. Opie on collecting evidence on his husband's cheating, and if the husband has done this before. From what I've been able to gather from the messages and calls, it has happened twice, including the time that I caught them. I hadn't thought about STIs, so thank you, I'll get tested. Opie responds to multiple comments about his husband not respecting him and the cheating wasn't the first time. It's not, I found out it's the second time, but I don't want my son to know what happened. He's unaware and happy thinking his dads will be together forever. I don't want to break that illusion. And why didn't Opie interrupt his husband's cheating with the ex? I was really just too shocked and hurt by what I saw that I just stood there without them noticing me. I then heard my son and unconsciously focused on him and only him. A coping mechanism maybe? I don't know, I was mostly an autopilot. Let's go to an update. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for your advice, and I want to explain some things before the actual update, but thank you for opening my eyes about the situation. 1. Peter and Alison didn't notice me when I saw them. There was music very loud downstairs and they weren't facing the door. 2. I didn't stop them because I was in shock. I just stood there for a moment and I heard my son, so I unconsciously focused on him. I was pretty much an autopilot. 3. Peter didn't come to the hotel with me because I changed to a different one. He did try to follow me, but I took a taxi and left. As far as I know, he's staying with his parents and Alison left. And 4. We met when I was 20 and he was 30. We started as friends and we ended up dating. Yes, we're both men, and no, I didn't feel manipulated or groomed by him. Those were the most asked things, and I did answer some comments, not all. Now onto the update. I did as some of you said and took some tests to discard any STIs or STDs. The results are coming back in a few days, and I'll take another one in 3 weeks to be sure. My son is having a sleepover with a friend, and I decided to speak with my husband. He came by our house. After a few minutes I texted him. He asked about Jack and I told him where he was. Then we sat on the couch and started talking. I started crying after a few minutes and he followed after. I asked some simple questions. When, why, how many times, among others, and this is what I could figure out by all the things he said. It happened for the first time when he visited his parents alone 2 years ago. They invited her. They both got drunk. He was feeling lonely as I'd been more attentive to Jack since we adopted him, and they slept together. Nothing happened again until our son's birthday party. He said his mother pressured him a bit and he caved in. I don't believe he did it for that reason, but I don't know. He said he doesn't love her and I believe him, but it doesn't negate the fact of what he did. After talking for a while, I told him that I wanted a divorce. He started sobbing and begging for another chance, but I told him that I can't give him another chance because I wouldn't be able to trust him again, and I don't want that in a relationship. He kept crying and begging for another 30 minutes until I told him that we have to think about Jack and his well-being, that we could stay friends and co-parent him. He got mad, really mad. He started yelling that it was all Jack's fault, that we shouldn't have adopted him, that he's the one who's getting between us. I was crying and really scared. I'd never seen him this angry. He hit the table and stormed out of the house. I called the house where Jack is staying at and told them if Peter shows up there, they can't open the door. After the little episode, I was scared that Peter would try to hurt Jack. I called my friend again, Thomas, and told him everything that happened. He came by and is staying with me until I'm better. Right now, I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to go on with the divorce. One comment says, "You're absolutely not wrong for not forgiving your husband. His reaction to the news of divorce, blaming your adopted son, is alarming and shows his true colours. Stay strong and prioritise your and Jack's safety." Sorry that you're going through this. On the bright side, it seems that you'll have no problem getting full custody. It is better to have one loving parent than two co-parents where one is resenting you for mere existence. I can't believe that he is taking no accountability for his actions and blaming your completely innocent son. Every time you start missing your soon-to-be ex, I want you to please remember what he said about your son. It will be painful, but it will strengthen your heart and mind to move on from that toxic man. You are definitely not the a-hole. Keep striving for a healthy, happy new relationship for you and your son. On to a new update. Hi again. Sorry for taking so long to update, but it's been a chaotic week and I'm pretty shaken up, but I'll try to summarize it. My husband has been showing up at my work, following me and calling me from burner phones. I was afraid he'd go after Jack like many of you said he would, but he didn't. He said a lot of stuff, but I'll try to write the important things. He said that he missed when we were just us, that I stopped paying attention to him when we adopted Jack, that I wasn't his anymore. He said that he missed how dependent I was on him. I was very insecure when we met, but I started working on my issues when we adopted Jack because I didn't want to be a bad example for him. When we got married, I used to get sick all the time. I was weak and tired, so he would take care of me 24/7. The doctors couldn't tell what was wrong with me, and I didn't get better until after a bit after we adopted Jack. I guess that dependence is what he missed. Yesterday he followed me to work and started screaming that I was his and that we made vows to stay together. We had to call security and he waited for me next to my car. I panicked and took a taxi home. He keeps messaging me and showing up to our house. I took a few weeks off of work to be with Jack, although he's taking this better than me. I made an appointment with a therapist for him, and when the divorce is finalized, I'll go to one myself. I've been debating what to do, so I'll update when something happens. One comment says, "It's good that you're prioritizing Jack and your own mental health by seeing a therapist. You deserve to feel safe and supported. It's wild how some people can't handle change, right? Your husband seems to be stuck in the past, and it's not fair to you or Jack. Just remember, you're doing what's best for both of you, and that's what truly matters." Alright guys, and that's the end of that story for now. I'll keep an eye out for any further updates, but yeah, that got pretty scary pretty quickly. And then yeah, all that stuff he said about liking him when he was more dependent on him, it was just pretty alarming to me. I'm glad that Opie's getting help for him and his kid, and he's, not giving in to his ex's demands and stuff. Anyway, what do you guys think about this story? Let me know down below. Otherwise, we're moving on to another one. Okay, this one's from Am I Overreacting? It was written by a throwaway account, and it's titled, Am I overreacting to think my wife is cheating? Throwaway, of course. About 6 months ago, I noticed an undershirt folded up in my dresser drawer. The weird thing was that the label wasn't from any of the brands that I have, and there was only one of that kind. I tried it on, and it clearly didn't fit me. I assumed that it was an old shirt of mine that somehow got brought out of storage and tossed it. 2 months later, I find a pair of men's jeans, clearly not my size, folded on the top of the dresser. This was after I was at a conference for a few days. The conference was in my town, but I was gone from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. pretty much every day. I asked my wife about it and family who had visited recently. Nobody had any idea where they came from. I started to suspect something was up, but decided that it was in the best interest of my relationship to just ask once and then trust my wife's response. I tossed the jeans and moved on. This morning I found a men's polo shirt hanging in my closet. Not my size, and it's a brand from a store that I don't shop at, and haven't even stepped foot into for nearly a decade. This only days after I returned from an out-of-town work trip. I confronted my wife demanding answers. She claims that she knows nothing. I started by asking her why she thinks I'm upset. She jumped straight to, "You think I'm cheating?" I asked her to put herself in my shoes and try to explain how else I could interpret this pattern, me being gone, men's clothing showing up in my house. She never answered the question. We went back and forth, never screaming or throwing things, for about an hour, with the shirt lying on the table between us. I kept saying that, "I don't know" is not an acceptable answer. She ended with, "Or what?" I said that I needed answers one more time and got straight up from the table and left to go back to work. Historically, I do trust her, but I can see how easily lies come out of her mouth when speaking to her family over seemingly small things. She grew up in an overbearing household and she knows how to cover her tracks. During the conversation, I asked if I could go through her cell phone, something I've never done before or even tried to do. Of course, nothing of note. Something is happening. The pattern is clear to me. Am I overreacting? How should I proceed? Interesting. Let's see what the comments think. Time to skip one of your work conferences, find a spot a couple miles away, then come home about an hour into what would be your conference. Some guy in an alternate reality is slowly losing his mind because his clothes are disappearing. I wonder if you can ask a neighbour if they have a Ring camera and you can see their recordings. Tell them you have some packages that got stolen and want to see who did it. The obvious answer is cameras, of course. A doorbell camera, but also wants to monitor entrances to the house from the inside that she doesn't know about. All good suggestions. Opie makes a quick edit. Thanks for the insight, folks. I've been internalizing all of this and trying to remain objective. It's easy to jump to a conclusion about cheating, and yes, the evidence does seem damning. There is some advice in the comments about next steps, and many with differing perspectives on what else could have happened. This has certainly helped me step back and assess the situation more clearly. We had a multiple hour-long conversation. She called my in-laws about the clothing. I called my folks with the same questions. I was given her phone to go through again. I even did some digging with the ISP to get connected devices and websites, texts from cell, etc. No answers anywhere. At the end of the day, I chose to not blow up my entire life, walk out, lawyer, take the kids and run, and instead chose to proceed with caution. If she is cheating, she knows she's going to be heavily scrutinized and will eventually be caught with actual evidence. If not, I avoided destroying my family over nothing. Lots of you will disagree with me, I'm sure, but this is my life and there are nuances at play here that haven't been and won't be shared. One comment says, is the mystery man just leaving the house no longer wearing pants, or are some of yours missing? Why would mystery man leave with no pants on? That's weird. Opie says, that's my thought too. It doesn't make sense. All of the items combined make one full set of clothing. There's a dichotomy here. You say she's very capable of covering her tracks, but also you keep finding some other dude's clothes in your house. The obvious answer is she's cheating, but is there a chance she's effing with you, gaslighting you into a divorce? What does she stand to gain? Opie replies, I don't know. Financially it's a bit equal, although she stopped working recently to take care of our child full time. I agree that it's sloppy to leave clothing around. It adds up to a full set, so maybe John Doe came in with a bag and left his set on accident. I find other people's stuff in my house all the time. We have a lot of visitors. I think I would need more proof. Opie says, last time we had visitors was before clothing showed up, months ago. The clothing would not fit any of our guests. I know everyone keeps saying she's definitely cheating, but women aren't stupid. You honestly think a man is leaving his entire wardrobe and neither he or she notices? Him leaving without jeans? Her folding up clothes she knows aren't yours? You have no children or family members that this would apply to? Opie replies, my thoughts here as well. The clothing wouldn't fit anyone in either of our families or our child. Honestly, I could see the folding of clothes happening. She just puts on the TV and goes to fold. The colours are close enough to clothing I have that she could easily not notice. The size and brands are the only differentiator. Yeah, still, it all seems too, obvious. Let's go to an update. I left off on Tuesday calm, accepting that there had to be something more to the story. The last thing I wanted to do was blow up my life for no reason. Lots, about 75% of folks, instantly jumped to cheating, which is understandable given the context. The other 25% either thought it was fake or needed more info because the idea of folding and hanging clothes in the closet of the person you're cheating is so outlandish, which is also understandable. I was committed to finding answers that proved my wife's innocence, which we eventually did. Out of all of the 7.5 million views and 7k comments, the one thing that we all missed was the possibility of clothing being donated to us, which ended up being the case. My wife is thrifty and baby clothing is expensive. One of the ways we have curbed the cost is by frequenting social media marketplaces looking for those who are cleaning house. During the process, it seems that folks would include more than just baby clothing in their donations. It took some digging, but eventually we found the previous owners for both the pants and the polo and confirmed that it did indeed come from them. The last 2 days have been an emotional roller coaster. The saving grace out of all of this is that we both stayed calm, cool and collected during the exchanges. Thanks to everyone for all the input and supportive DMs. Edit, yes, we really do get all of our child's infant clothing second-hand. Most of it hasn't been worn yet. If you don't have kids, it probably sounds hard to believe. We also get this stuff in bulk, like garbage bags full of baby clothes, so not everything is immediately visible or apparent, and it just gets tossed in with our normal laundry. For those still in doubt, I was the one who did the digging on the donations and sent pictures of the clothing to the previous owners. Both confirmed it was theirs. Sorry if you think it's fake. Maybe it's time you get off the internet. So there you go. A totally reasonable explanation that I didn't actually see coming. What about you guys? Did you see that one coming? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, let's move on again. Alright, going over to Petty Revenge, because it's been a while. This one was written by user TarncoMan, and it's titled, I torpedoed a dude's entire career because he was a bully. So to preface, I know I'm something of a nepo baby, but it is what it is. My mum is incredibly successful in a very niche but very lucrative field of business. This allowed my dad to be a stay-at-home dad, and for me and my siblings to get a good education. When I graduated from college, I decided to go into the same field as my mum. While I love her and our relationship is good, I very much did not want to be only viewed as her kid, or receive special treatment due to how well regarded she is, so I used my dad's surname, and generally keep who my mum is to myself. I also avoided coming to work with her. In my field and country, it's generally accepted that people are hired for a trial period, at the end of which either the employee or employer can cut ties with no fines or compensation required. So anyway, I went to work at one company. Again, I'll remind you, very niche market, very few employment opportunities. I went in for my trial period and everyone seemed pretty happy with me. I put out some fires and a superior describes me as a workhorse because I'm first to the office, last out the door. It goes pretty well, except for one colleague in my team. This dude is a huge jerk. I'm a bit of a people pleaser and try to be on good terms with everyone, but jerk will have none of it. Dude is incredibly rude. He keeps being very confrontational. Like if a colleague, not just me, was getting any sort of acknowledgement, jerk would belittle them in their accomplishments. If someone was saying they had a rough time with something, jerk would pop up and go, "Oh yeah, I did that a while back, it was super easy." Whenever someone tried talking about future plans with me, jerk would go, "Oh yeah, we'll see about that." He also apparently said some very unkind things about my appearance and masculinity, but those at least he had the decency to say behind my back, I suppose, and I only learned about them later. Like, this dude was incredibly mean, for apparently no reason except trying to make himself look better by making everyone else look worse. This one thing wasn't true to me specifically because I'm male, but his meanness seemed to apply especially to women. A few comments were about how working in this field isn't for mums and they should be raising kids or whatever, and some other very bad stuff. But management seemed pretty content keeping him around because apparently he was a pretty good worker and they liked that he was ambitious. Fine. My trial period ends. I'm offered a permanent position, but decide this is not the place for me, as I don't love being anybody's workhorse and have very little interest in sticking around in jerk's vicinity. I respectfully inform them I will not be sticking around and go find work elsewhere. On my last day, I come to say goodbye. Management says they're sorry to see me go. Colleagues wish me well and say they're gonna miss me. Jerk goes, "Ha! Told you Opie wasn't going to stick around. Good riddance. Maybe this field isn't for you either." Very loudly. I leave. I'm not very confrontational and I don't have to deal with him anymore anyway, so I just go. So time goes by. I'm now employed elsewhere. I'm happy and doing well. I love my work and my colleagues. I've been promoted and I don't really think about jerk anymore. Except, apparently there's a relative influx of applicants from jerk's company. Relative because again, very niche market. Whatever. My boss knows I did a trial period over there, so whenever an applicant comes up, he asks me about my experience with them. There are very few people I dislike, so when asked, I usually give my honest opinion, which is usually very positive. But guess whose application we suddenly receive? It's jerk. My boss asks for my opinion, and I say, "Look, I have personal feelings about this person and I can't be objective." Boss, knowing just how positive I usually am about basically everyone, asks me what's up, and eventually I tell him. I tell him everything. Jerk obviously doesn't get hired. I assume that's the end of that. A few days later we have a family dinner. My mum goes, "Wait, you had a trial period at that company, right? Do you know Jerk?" Well, my mum knew there was a person I really didn't get along with at that company and the crappy things they did. I tell her it was him. Obviously, she ain't gonna hire him either, especially given his views on women. So my company ends up hiring one of Jerk's company's former workers. Me and her are on great terms, and this is how I discover what happened there. Jerk got promoted, and that made a bunch of people want to leave. This caused management to look into why, and why strong applicants were leaving after their trial period was over. Turned out it was Jerk. Someone had a talk with him, and from what I gather, he was not receptive to criticism. He was let go. This is when he applied to the company I work for, and to my mum's. From what I understand, he no longer works in our field. There are, as I mentioned, not many employers around. But unfortunately, I have no idea what he does do. We'll update if I find out. Yep, honestly sounds like he got what was coming to him. Honestly, I believe in workplace environments like this, 80% of the job and getting future jobs is just being a decent person. I'm glad this guy got his comeuppance. Anyway folks, we're going to leave that one there. That's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.